welcome to the first Critic Corner of the new year. Woohoo! 2021, baby. So welcome. And today we're going to be talking about what else movies. So I'm Andrew Branca. I'm with the Waxahachie Sun. I'm with my colleague and friend and fellow movie lover, Mr. David Dunn with Southlake Style Magazine. How are you doing today, David?
Happy New Year, Andy.
Happy New Year, man. Wow, I'm glad to have 2020 in the books and ready to move on here.
Yes, I'm very happy. 2020 has died. That nobody has attended his funeral. And every other negative thought I can possibly say about 2020. 2021, please don't screw this up. You have such an easy job. Just be a normal, low-key year. Nothing else. Just stop with this.
Well, there's a lot of good hope on the horizon, and I think everybody's I know at least I am approaching the year with hope and optimism, and that's how I'm gonna, proceed forward there.
Good way to approach it.
Yeah, I think so. Today's movie is a new one. It's been anticipated for months. It's been delayed. It's been, with everything with the pandemic. It's the new Wonder Woman movie, Wonder Woman 1984.
Yes, sir.
But before we get into it, we have this trailer from Warner Brothers. They were kind enough to let us download that and show that to you. So go ahead and enjoy this trailer from Wonder Woman 1984.
This world is not yet ready for all that you will do. Your time will come, Diana. And everything will be different.
Citizens of the world, I'm here to change your life. Anything you want. Anything you dream of, you can have it. You look like you saw a ghost. Diana, look at you. It's like not one day has passed.
I don't want to be like anyone. I want to be an apex predator. You've always had everything, while people like me have had nothing. Well, now it's my turn. Get used to it.
I've never been one for rules. The answer is always more. The way I fly, they will never find us.
I forgot to tell you.
What?
Radar.
Will they shoot at us?
Barbara, what did you do?
I'm not so keen on this one. I figure you are, but you know what? I'm ready to go.
I think we can do better.
Parachute pants?
Yeah,
Does everybody parachute now?
So yes, Andy, very exciting trailer for one of DC's most popular superheroines. In this sequel to the 2017 blockbuster Wonder Woman, Diana is back, living in 1984, hence the title. She and a slew of other Americans come across this ancient artifact called the Dream Stone, which can grant any wish that one desires at a cost, but grant their wish nonetheless. And obviously, Diana has her own particular wish. A few other people have their own wishes, and one person in particular has very nefarious plans on what to do with this Dream Stone in particular. And I gotta say, Andy, I didn't know what to expect with this movie. I went in with the most wildest discourse I've ever seen. I've seen some people say they loved it. I've seen other people say they hated it. The way I saw this movie going into it, its reception honestly kind of reminded me of Batman vs Superman. Like, just some people loved it and other people hated it.
I could see that. Yeah.
And then I went in to see the movie, and yeah, it's the comparison to Batman v Superman is very, very fair in many ways, actually, Andy, because this movie is a mess. Holy crow. This movie is so much sloppier than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You know, I had high expectations for this movie going in because, the first one was incredible. I mean, the writing was good, the story was amazing, the plot made sense. It was simple, direct, and to the point. You could see Wonder Woman kicking a lot of booty, which was great, and look awesome doing it. I mean, female empowerment was definitely on display there, and go Wonder Woman. But
Absolutely.
This movie was definitely a letdown from the title. I mean, when you put a title that says Wonder Woman 1984, you expect they do that 1984 is going to be significant in the movie, in the plot. But, this movie could have been in 1994. This movie could have been in 2004. Movie could have been in 1974 for all intents purposes. There was no really point in putting a 1984 in the title. But just watching it was sloppy, it was careless. There wasn't really there was a bad guy, but he wasn't really a bad guy. He was just kind of a dude who kind of made a mistake and that sort of thing. And it felt like I was watching soap opera, like these are the days of our lives as the world turns here,
Yeah, it definitely had a 1980s vibe for it. Yeah, I agree. The timeline wasn't necessarily important to the movie, but I will give the movie credit. It adapted and it demonstrated the 1980s vibe very, very well. I mean, people are in 1980s style clothing. People, break dancing and doing all this, disco.
Parachute dance were on display.
Exactly, yeah. So they adapted the era pretty well for this movie, but I agree, largely it wasn't relevant to the plot. But yeah, going off of the villains in this movie, Andy, oh god. Okay, so, and I want to try to not compare this movie to its predecessor, but that's going to be really hard because the first movie was amazing, had great character development, had a great build-up, it had a great villain with a really good motivation. So the first movie was very, very well done. This movie, there's several problems with it, but let's start with the villains. Simply put, this movie did not need two villains. Some movies utilize two villains, and it utilizes them very well, like The Dark Knight. This movie just did not need them. One guy, his name is Maxwell Lord. He's played by Pedro Pascal, which for those of you Mandalorian fans out there, you'll recognize his voice.
Yeah, and he's like a Spanish ShamWow guy, I mean.
Yeah. Spanish, pretty much, yeah. But he plays Maxwell Lord, and he's basically this cartoonish, over-the-top, like, business oil exec guy. He's like, money! And he's just this conniving, weirdo character. I'm just like, God, this zany guy, this is the best villain you got. We had a great villain in the first Wonder Woman in Ares who was imposing, intimidating. He had a little bit of a darker side to him. This guy is like if you took Arnold Schwarzenegger out of the Mr. Freeze suit in Batman and Robin and you made him an oil exec. That's basically who he is.
I would have rather had Arnold there.
But yeah, literally, I think he would have played the part better. Honestly, it needed an over-the-top energy, and it was just ridiculous and silly in its execution. But Kristen Wiig, dude, Kristen Wiig, it's not often where I say this. I think she may be one of my least favorite comic book movie villains adapted onto the big screen. Because I'm a big Cheetah fan. I'm a Wonder Woman comic book fan. I've loved, reading her stories. Cheetah is one of my favorite villains. And one thing I was very curious about with this movie was how they were going to handle Cheetah. And for 90% of the movie, she's not Cheetah. She's just this blonde girl that can, kick butt. She was a loser beforehand, and then she turned a little bit of a
It
bad.
basically went from old and busted to hotness.
Yeah, and then at the very end, like out of nowhere, she just has this CGI cat appearance, like she appeared in the Cats movie with Taylor Swift, and I'm just like, that CGI is god awful. Not only is the CGI awful, but they didn't even do the transformation well. Like there was no transition between regular hot Kristen Wiig to cat Kristen Wiig. Like
I don't really like Kristen Wiig as much as an actor anyways. I mean, she's known for these quirky kind of style comedy, Bridesmaids, the stuff she did on SNL. She's done a couple serious things like Secret Life of Walter Mitty. She was in that. She was also in that Matt Damon movie about shrinking people. She played Matt Damon's wife in that movie, who dumped Matt Damon, but she was okay in that. But
okay, I know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Downsizing, I believe the movie was called.
Downsizing, yes.
But I've just never been a fan of her. I'm not a fanboy of her personally, but
sorry, go ahead.
It felt so out of place in this movie. It was just, it was awkward,
She was so random. It felt like they brought her into the movie at the end because Diana needed some boss fight, like some boss battle. But you already had a villain in Maxwell Lord. So why would you waste this other villain who's a great villain in the comics? Why would you rush her into the end of this like you did with Venom in Spider-Man 3? All you did was just waste a character. You didn't give them the attention they deserved.
Yeah. Kind of had a Green Lantern moment there. I mean, that's what it felt like. I mean, and I'm not going to say how the movie ends, but the end just felt so cheap and just like, oh, we need an ending, so let's do this. I wrote it on the back of a napkin on a bus, so here's our ending.
The end was hokey. The end was hokey, and really the end was unrealistic. Like, I'm not going to get into spoil. I'm going to try not to spoil anything, but at the end, without giving too much away, the world basically has to come together to do something. And it's so unrealistic and so impractical. I'm watching the movie, I'm like, you can't even get the world to agree on wearing masks during a pandemic. How do you expect them to do something bigger than that here? Like, ridiculous.
Yeah, like the dude who makes a wish to be a millionaire is going to say, no, I don't want to be a millionaire anymore. Really? Yeah.
I renounce my wish. Get out of here.
Yeah.
People are selfish and inward thinking. They're not going to think about the betterment of mankind.
No. They only see 6 feet in front of themselves, and that's kind of about it. I was just highly disappointed with the, with the whole thing. I mean, I don't know how you saw it, but, I ventured out to a theater and went and saw this. I saw this at Showbiz Cinemas here in Waxahachie on their SDX screen, which is 70 foot is awesome. Amazing way to see a movie. But even you could hear the disappointment from the other people in the audience. I mean, everybody was social distance, but you could hear just this collective sigh, like, I spent 2 hours watching this? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's another thing, is that you look at the runtime, that 2.5 hours. That's a very hearty amount of time to give to any movie.
Yeah.
But movies shorter than this, like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, that movie's like 1 hour and 40 minutes. And it's great. It's better than this movie.
I'd watch it 10 times over.
Yeah, Wonder Woman 1984 is just drudging and slow and ridiculous and sloppy.
I'd watch Spider-Man 3 again with Topher Grace.
Okay, I don't know if I go that far.
Well, that's maybe a little extreme, I don't know.
but I do see your point for sure. So I didn't watch it in theaters, Andy. I watched it on HBO Max, and it was fine. I appreciated, the comfort of watching it from my own home. And when I saw something stupid on screen, I appreciated the ability to pause it and rip it apart with my family in front of me. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, God. And what's so bewildering about this, Andy, is it's most of the same crew from the first movie. I mean, Patty Jenkins returned to direct. Zack Snyder returned to produce. Obviously, Gal Gadot came back as Wonder Woman. A lot of the crew with this movie is the same crew from the first movie.
Oh yeah.
How did you make this movie when you made a emphatically better one several years ago?
I mean,
how?
Gal Gadot didn't. I'll say this: her performance, she didn't wonder my world in this at all. My world wasn't wondered. My mind wasn't blown.
I did like Gal Gadot in this movie. Even in the bad movies she's in, like Batman vs. Superman, Justice League, Wonder Woman 1984, she's always good in them, but the movie just doesn't utilize her talents the way it needs to.
Yeah, she's extremely talented. I mean, I'm sorry she had to subjugate herself to the Fast and Furious franchise, which that's a whole other beef that I have. But no, she's
so
yeah, that's true. But she's a very talented actress and just has a lot to offer people. And I was thinking, man, I was just so looking forward to this coming out, but it was just such a big letdown.
You would expect that if they didn't at least, like, if it's not going to be better than the first movie, at least be fun, at least be entertaining. I had like a few snippets this movie, like a few scenes where I genuinely enjoyed them. And the rest of the movie, you just stare in bewilderment and puzzlement. You're just like, that's how you're introducing Cheetah? Really?
Yeah. I mean, they had some clever lines in there when Chris Pine was trying to get into 1980s fashion. He made the comment about, he's trying on parachute pants, and he says, does everybody parachute now? Is that a thing? I mean, there were lines like that in the movie that, they were clever, they were funny, but it wasn't enough to really sustain, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, Gal Gadot was great in the movie. Chris Pine was great in the movie. I loved seeing him back in here as Steve Trevor. Although this movie ends in a way to where it similarly ends in the first movie, so I don't know why you would bring him back just so things could return to normal. But yeah, it's bewildering, Annie. And what I'm very confused by is, and what I'm concerned about is, Patty Jenkins is supposed to return for the third Wonder Woman movie.
Oh, there's going to be a third one?
Huh?
I didn't know there was going to be a third one.
Yep, Patty Jenkins is returning to do the third Wonder Woman movie, which, what time period are you going to be? This is 1984. Are you coming to current times? Because obviously Wonder Woman did some things before Batman vs. Superman. But then secondly, what on earth are you going to do with it? And is it going to be better than this? Like, if I had to pick between Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 1984, I hope you go back to Wonder Woman and tell a story that is emotional, effective, and has something relevant to say. Don't regress to this slop.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed the opening of the movie. I thought it was cool how it kind of gave more of Wonder Woman's background, with the other Amazons and the stadium competition she was in. I thought that was really well done, very tasteful. But, other than that, and, like I said, a few clever lines of dialogue, there wasn't a whole lot of substance there. So
I will say, the one other thing this movie did very, very well, and I'm shocked this movie did this very, very well, was the movie introduced the invisible jet, like Wonder Woman's iconic invisible jet. I didn't know it was going to be in the movie. I wasn't expecting it. When I saw it, I was like, holy crow. And it's actually good. They actually bring in the invisible jet, and it is not as corny as I was expecting it to be. Like, how is the invisible jet one of the few things that's done well in this movie?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised about it, but they take a fighter jet from the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum, and they travel to Egypt to it. But just as a nerd, it wouldn't have enough gas to get there. That's my problem with that whole thing.
Yeah, I get
The
that
guy
too.
who flies a biplane can't fly a fighter jet. I'm sorry. You can't get rated that quickly on that. I know that because I'm taking lessons.
I will say also one other thing. These movies are really spotty when it comes to adapting history, like namely with presidents. Sometimes they'll bring in completely new people. Sometimes they'll reenact presidents. When they did Nixon in X-Men Days of Futures Past, I thought he was a great reenactor. They have Ronald Reagan in this movie, and it is probably the worst Ronald Reagan impression I've ever seen on film, period. Like,
I wish they would have brought Dana Carvey in and done Reagan.
I was offended.
Voice right.
I was offended at how bad the Ronald Reagan impression was. Like, I was actually upset about it.
It looked like Ronald Reagan after he ate like 12 dozen donuts. I mean,
It was bad. This
is from a guy who's fat and ate a lot of donuts.
I was like, you've had
really
3 years. This is what you could do. Okay, great job, DC. Great job.
Well, it comes to that time where we give a rating here of the goodness or the awfulness of this movie. So, out of 10 stars, what do you give this?
I give it a solid 5. It has entertaining moments. I love Gal Gadot in the movie, but the plot just falls apart. The villains are ridiculous. And this movie needed a lot more refining than it got.
I give it a 6.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 6.5. I mean, I wasn't thrilled with it. It was just, they always say sequels are hard to do, and this is very much the case with this movie.
The classic case of sequelitis, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Critics Corner. So if you have any suggestions, thoughts, questions, comments, something you'd like us to see, please give us an email. Let us know, and we'll be glad to do that. Again, we will be back here in the corner next week. So y'all take care. Have a great start of your new year, and we'll see you guys next week.
Till next week. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, y'all.